Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Tonight we are going to leave behind the busy rhythms of the day and step into a world of quiet wonder. As you settle into your comfortable space, let your shoulders drop and allow your breathing to become slow and deep. Imagine the soft, cool air of a tropical twilight wrapping around you, carrying the faint, sweet scent of jasmine and rain-washed earth. There is nowhere else you need to be right now, and absolutely nothing else you need to do. Just rest and let your mind float gently on the quiet sound of my voice. If you find comfort in this peaceful escape, please consider leaving a gentle like and subscribing to the channel so we can continue to share these serene moments together night after night. Tonight, our journey takes us to the emerald heart of an ancient, whispering island, to a place where time itself seems to stand perfectly still. We are traveling to Borobudur, a magnificent monument of carved stone rising gracefully from the misty green jungles of Java. It is a place of profound peace, designed centuries ago to guide wandering minds toward absolute tranquility. Imagine a grand mandala crafted from warm volcanic rock, resting silently under a vast blanket of silver stars, gently holding the whispered dreams of 1,000 generations. Every graceful carving, every smooth, bell-shaped stupa tells a soothing story of balance, deep harmony, and the quiet unfolding of the universe. As we wander softly through its shadowed corridors and ascend its moonlit terraces together, you will discover the comforting mysteries of this timeless sanctuary. So, simply close your eyes, take one more deep, relaxing breath, and let's begin this slow and soothing journey. Long ago, before the memory of the modern world was even a whisper, the earth itself offered up the very bones of this magnificent sanctuary. Deep beneath the emerald surface of the island, ancient rivers of volcanic fire cooled and rested, slowly transforming into the deep, porous gray stone that would one day become a masterpiece of peace. The builders, guided by a quiet reverence, carried these heavy, sleeping stones from the winding riverbeds, bringing them together to form a mountain of human devotion. Each block holds within it the profound warmth of the Earth's ancient heart, holding a silent vibration of grounding energy. As you imagine resting your hand against this time-worn surface, you can almost feel the gentle pulse of the natural world flowing into you, absorbing all the scattered thoughts of your day. The stone is not cold, but comforting, like a steady, ancient companion watching over the passing centuries with eternal patience and a soft, unbroken stillness. This monumental creation does not stand alone, but rests safely within the tender embrace of the Kedu Valley, surrounded by the soft silhouettes of twin volcanic peaks. These distant mountains act as quiet guardians, their gentle slopes wrapped in a permanent cloak of twilight purple and deep indigo. The valley floor itself is a lush ocean of swaying palm trees and impossibly green rice terraces, breathing softly with the passing wind. It is said that in the earliest days this entire valley was a vast mirror-like lake, perfectly reflecting the quiet sky above. In this watery cradle, the temple was designed to look like an enormous, magnificent lotus flower floating peacefully on the glassy surface. Even now, when the morning mist settles thickly over the canopy, the grand stone monument appears to hover above the soft clouds, untethered from the earth, drifting in an endless sky of pearlescent white and delicate sunrise gold, offering a feeling of weightless release. The assembly of this vast stone mandala is a testament to the soothing power of patience and gentle precision. Millions of heavy individual blocks were brought together without the harshness of nails or the bind of mortar. Instead, the ancient artisans carved delicate interlocking joints into the edges of the rock, joining each piece like a massive, perfectly harmonious puzzle. Dovetailed joints and quiet, sliding connections allow the stones to hold onto one another in a permanent, loving embrace. This ingenious design allows the entire structure to sway and breathe gently with the natural tremors of the earth, yielding to the movements rather than resisting them. There is a profound lesson in this ancient architecture, a quiet reminder that true strength lies not in rigid control, but in graceful flexibility. The stones rest deeply against one another, sharing the immense weight equally, creating an overwhelming atmosphere of shared comfort quiet resilience, and a peaceful surrender to the natural flow of time. As we begin our slow ascent at the very base of the monument, we enter a hidden realm wrapped in the deepest shadows of the jungle night. This lowest level, deeply grounded in the soil, was meant to represent the earthly realm, a place where all heavy burdens and tangled desires are gently laid to rest. Curiously, this entire foundation was deliberately covered with a thick, broad layer of stone, hiding a vast gallery of intricate carvings from the eyes of the world. No one knows exactly why these lower stories were so carefully concealed. Some say it was to physically support the towering weight of the upper terraces, while others believe it was a symbolic burying of earthly worries, allowing the visitor to leave their troubles firmly in the dark, heavy earth below. As you walk past this massive, silent footing, imagine your own daily stresses being absorbed into the cool, dark stone, locked away safely so your mind can rise effortlessly into lighter, clearer spaces. Stepping softly onto the first open gallery, the sheer scale of the quiet devotion carved into the walls begins to unfold in the dim silver light. Along the corridors, stretching for miles, are thousands of intricate relief panels, each one a window into an ancient, peaceful world. The rough volcanic stone has been smoothed and shaped with unbelievable tenderness to depict incredibly detailed scenes of flowing rivers, resting animals, and wise figures sitting in deep meditation. As your eyes trace the graceful curves of the stone vines and the soft feathers of carved doves, a profound sense of calm washes over you. The narrative unfolds at a walking pace, a slow, deliberate rhythm that automatically slows your heartbeat to match its ancient tempo. There is no rush here in this stone library. The stories simply wait, infinitely patient, for a quiet observer to wander past, offering endless visual lullabies written in the enduring, silent language of shadows and moonlight. Among the beautiful reliefs softly glowing under the stars, there are magnificent carvings of grand, ancient sailing vessels riding the calm currents of a forgotten sea. These stone ships, known as outrigger canoes, are depicted with their sails resting gently, drifting smoothly toward distant, serene shores. You can almost hear the soft, rhythmic lapping of the dark water against their wooden hulls and the quiet creak of the mast swaying in a gentle, warm breeze. These nautical carvings tell the quiet story of ancient mariners who navigated the vast oceans using only the subtle light of the stars and the gentle pull of the ocean tides. Just as these sailors trusted the immense, calm sea to carry them safely to their tranquil destinations, you too can surrender to the gentle tide of the night. Let the quiet current of these ancient waters wash away any lingering thoughts, carrying your mind on a smooth, unbroken journey toward the deep, restful shores of restorative sleep. In every shadowy corner and moonlit alcove of these endless corridors, the stone blossoms with the exquisite resting forms of the natural world. Carved banyan trees with deep, sprawling roots offer shelter to delicate sleeping monkeys and peaceful elephants with slow, rhythmic breaths. Peacocks rest their heavy, decorative tails on smooth branches, and soft-petaled lotus flowers seem to bloom directly out of the hard rock, symbolizing pure beauty emerging gently from the dark mud. The artisans captured a world that is permanently paused in a state of absolute, gentle harmony. Looking at these quiet creatures, held safely in the cool embrace of the stone canopy, you can feel a deep sense of universal peace settling into your own body. It is a quiet forest made of shadows and stillness, where no predators roam and no storms ever break. It is a safe, sheltered sanctuary where every living thing is simply resting, inviting you to join them in their deep, uninterrupted slumber. As we continue our slow, winding walk along the ancient galleries, you might notice the faint, ghostly scent of sandalwood and jasmine seemingly lingering in the cool night air. For countless centuries, these stone corridors were filled with the soft, fragrant smoke of burning incense, offered by thousands of wandering seekers looking for inner peace. The porous volcanic rock has absorbed the memories of these gentle offerings, holding on to the deep, calming aromas of the past. Imagine breathing in that sweet, earthy perfume, feeling it fill your lungs with a profound, soothing warmth. The scent carries the quiet devotion of endless generations, a collective sigh of relief that wraps around you like a heavy, comforting blanket. This invisible fragrance serves as a gentle anchor, keeping your mind beautifully untangled and softly grounded in the present moment. With every slow, deep breath, you draw in centuries of deep relaxation, letting out a soft exhalation that dissolves quietly into the endless starry night. To protect the temple from the heavy, cleansing monsoon rains, the architects designed an elegant system of water channels, ending in beautifully carved stone gargoyles known as makaras. These mythical sea creatures, with their curled, resting trunks and soft, rounded eyes, gaze peacefully out over the dark jungle canopy. When the gentle rains fall over the valley, the water flows smoothly through their open mouths, creating a melodic, cascading waterfall that sings an ancient, rhythmic lullaby. Imagine the soothing sound of this water, millions of tiny drops tapping softly against the smooth grey stones, washing away the dust of the dry season. This rain brings a deep, refreshing coolness to the heavy tropical air, leaving behind the rich, comforting scent of wet earth and crushed green leaves. The endless, cyclical flow of the water represents a constant, gentle purification, washing over your mind and effortlessly carrying away any lingering tension, leaving you completely refreshed, relaxed, and wonderfully calm. Moving slowly upward, we leave behind the lower, square terraces, transitioning gracefully from the structured world of corners and straight lines into a realm of pure, unbroken curves. Here, the architecture mimics the soft, rolling shapes of the clouds and the perfect, endless circles of the planets drifting in the cosmos. The high walls of the lower galleries melt away, revealing an awe-inspiring, unobstructed view of the vast, sleeping valley below and the sparkling velvet sky above. This physical elevation is a beautiful metaphor for the lightening of the spirit, a gentle shedding of earthly boundaries. The air up here feels instantly cooler, lighter, and incredibly fresh, brushing softly against your skin like a quiet whisper. The circular paths invite you to walk endlessly without ever finding an edge or an end, guiding your thoughts into a smooth, continuous loop of profound peace. It is a space where the mind can finally unspool, relaxing into the comforting geometry of infinity. Scattered perfectly throughout the dark, silent galleries are hundreds of beautiful Buddha statues, seated quietly in eternal meditation. Each figure sits with perfect, relaxed posture, their eyes gently cast downward in an expression of absolute, unwavering calm. The soft moonlight traces the smooth curves of their draped robes, highlighting the exquisite gentleness carved into their stone faces. They do not judge, they do not ask for anything, they simply exist in a state of profound, silent presence. Surrounding yourself with these peaceful guardians brings a wonderful sense of safety and quiet companionship. They have sat through centuries of blazing suns and heavy rains, completely undisturbed by the changing weather of the world. As you observe their deep stillness, you are gently invited to mirror their profound peace. Let your own muscles relax, let your own eyes close heavily, and allow yourself to sink deeply into the same quiet, undisturbed resting state that these beautiful stone figures have mastered for over a millennium. If you look closely at the hands of the statues resting in the moonlight, you will see they are formed into specific, graceful gestures known as mudras. Each delicate pose tells a different, comforting story of inner tranquility. Some statues rest their hands gently in their laps, palms open toward the sky, in the gesture of deep, quiet meditation. Others gently touch the earth with a single finger, drawing a soothing, grounding energy directly from the core of the sleeping world. Another beautiful gesture shows the hand raised slightly, palm facing outward, softly whispering a universal message of fearlessness and absolute safety. These gentle hands softly command the surrounding space to remain perfectly peaceful. Imagining these graceful gestures can help your own body release its final, lingering tensions. Just like the open, relaxed palms of the ancient stone guardians, you can let go of everything you are holding on to, allowing your hands to rest softly, heavy and completely relaxed by your side. As the silver moon tracks slowly across the vast ocean of the night sky, it casts long, gentle, sweeping shadows over the detailed stone carvings. The entire monument seems to breathe and shift softly in the changing light, performing an impossibly slow, silent dance. The deep shadows fall into the carved recesses, while the pale moonlight highlights the smooth, raised surfaces, creating a mesmerizing monochromatic dreamscape. This shifting illumination is incredibly hypnotic, like watching the slow, rhythmic waves of a dark sea gently rolling onto a quiet shore. The movement of the shadows is so deliberate, so infinitely patient, that simply picturing it slows the racing of the mind. It is a beautiful reminder that everything changes, smoothly and softly, without any sudden interruptions. As the shadows lengthen and stretch across the warm volcanic stone, they wrap the temple in a deepening blanket of quiet, signaling to the world that it is perfectly safe to drift into the deepest sleep. Reaching the upper circular platforms is like stepping onto a quiet, floating island suspended in a sea of starlight. Down below, the tangled vines and dense leaves of the jungle are completely hidden by a thick, glowing blanket of white mist. Up here, there are no walls, no intricate carvings, and no visual complexities to distract the tired mind. There is only the smooth, dark stone underfoot and the endless sweeping dome of the dark blue cosmos above. The brilliant stars seem so incredibly close in this thin, crisp air, you could almost reach out and brush them with your fingertips. The silence here is profound and heavy, a deep, resonant quiet that feels like a physical embrace. It is a space deliberately stripped of all earthly noise, designed purely for absolute empty stillness. Breathing in this pure, untroubled air, your thoughts become as light and delicate as the glowing mist below, floating effortlessly away into the calm, infinite night. Arranged in perfect, sweeping concentric circles upon these upper terraces are dozens of magnificent bell-shaped structures called stupas. Each one is carved from the same warm, grey stone, forming a delicate curved silhouette against the starry sky. Unlike solid walls, these stupas are made of intricate, intersecting latticework, featuring geometric diamond and square openings. This beautiful design allows the soft moonlight and the cool night breezes to pass effortlessly through the stone, creating a feeling of wonderful lightness and gentle transparency. Looking at these beautiful hollow bells, one can imagine a soft, low, resonant hum vibrating continuously within them, an ancient frequency of perfect peace. The open lattice represents a mind that has let go of its heavy walls, allowing the quiet breezes of the universe to flow through without resistance. As you visualize these graceful, curved shapes, let your own mind become just as open, just as light, and just as deeply peaceful as the silent bells of Borobudur. Hidden safely within the delicate, woven shadows of each latticed stupa sits another peaceful Buddha statue. Because the stone grid partially conceals them, you can only catch soft, fleeting glimpses of their serene faces when the moonlight strikes them at the perfect angle. They sit quietly in their protective stone cages, half hidden in the comforting darkness, completely insulated from the busy world outside. Peering through the diamond-shaped holes to see these hidden figures creates a deep sense of discovering a quiet, personal secret. It feels as though each statue is a hidden core of tranquility, resting perfectly undisturbed inside a protective shell. You can imagine building a similar soft shell around your own resting mind tonight. Let the delicate lattice of your dreams filter out any harsh thoughts, allowing only the softest, most peaceful moonlight to touch your inner stillness, keeping you completely safe, deeply warm, and wonderfully secluded as you drift further into sleep. If you were to walk barefoot across these wide, circular terraces in the deep of the night, you would feel a surprising, comforting warmth radiating slowly upward from the dark stone. Throughout the long, tropical day, the porous volcanic rock silently drinks in the golden, heavy heat of the bright equatorial sun. As night falls, the stone begins to slowly release this stored energy back into the cool, dark air. It is a remarkably gentle warmth, like a thick, heated blanket spread out beneath the open sky. Resting against this ancient stone feels incredibly soothing, instantly relaxing tight muscles and wrapping the body in a deep, deeply comforting embrace. The steady release of the sun's memory into the cool night air creates a perfect, harmonious balance of temperature. Imagine lying safely on these warm, smooth stones, feeling the deep, ancient heat seeping gently into your back. melting away the last traces of your physical fatigue into the silent earth. At the very heart and pinnacle of this magnificent monument stands a single, enormous central stupa. Unlike the smaller latticed bells that surround it, this crowning piece is completely solid and entirely sealed. It contains no hidden statues, no elaborate carvings, and no open windows to the world. It is the ultimate symbol of absolute formlessness, representing the highest state of consciousness where all thoughts, all desires, and all forms merge into an empty, perfect void. It points silently upward toward the vast center of the galaxy, a quiet arrow directing the mind toward total release. Standing beside this massive, solid dome, there is nothing left to analyze, nothing left to see, and nothing left to understand. It is the beautiful, silent end of the long journey. You have reached the gentle summit of the night. Here, at the very top of the ancient world, you are entirely free to empty your mind, letting everything dissolve into the deep, welcoming silence. The entire layout of Borobudur is a flawless, gigantic stone mandala, an ancient geometric map designed to represent the beautiful, harmonious structure of the entire universe. When viewed from high above, the monument forms a complex, perfect pattern of squares locking into sweeping circles, symbolizing the perfect alignment of the earthly realm with the infinite cosmos. The intricate symmetry is incredibly pleasing to the resting mind, offering a profound sense of predictable mathematical calm. Every staircase, every corner, and every curve was measured and placed with absolute loving precision, creating a space where chaotic thoughts simply cannot exist. Immersing yourself in this perfect geometry is like listening to a slow, perfectly tuned symphony, where every single note rests exactly where it belongs. Let the flawless, ancient balance of this mandala align your own wandering thoughts, drawing them smoothly toward a quiet, centered point of perfect, undisturbed equilibrium, allowing you to rest in complete harmony. The architects of this grand sanctuary aligned its heavy stone stairways perfectly with the 4 cardinal directions of the compass. The eastern stairs face the soft, delicate blush of the breaking dawn, while the western stones catch the deep, glowing embers of the fading dusk. By perfectly matching the orientation of the monument to the steady, reliable rotation of the earth, they tethered the temple to the slow, calming rhythm of the planets. Because of this flawless alignment, sitting on the quiet terraces feels like riding smoothly on the very axis of the turning world. There is a deep, profound comfort in knowing exactly where you are in the vastness of the cosmos. As you imagine resting perfectly aligned with the north, south, east, and west, you can feel a wonderful sense of physical grounding. You are not drifting aimlessly, but are safely anchored to the steady, slow, and completely peaceful rotation of our beautiful sleeping planet. For many long, quiet centuries, this magnificent temple was completely abandoned by the human world, left to rest in a deep, unbroken slumber. The nearby volcanoes exhaled soft blankets of gray ash, slowly and gently burying the grand terraces beneath a protective layer of mineral-rich earth. In the profound silence of the passing years, the lush, dark jungle crept forward. Massive banyan trees wrapped their thick, creeping roots over the stone bells, and incredibly soft emerald moss filled the spaces between the smiling faces of the ancient statues. Nature reclaimed the monument not with violence, but with a slow, tender embrace, tucking the temple away under a thick canopy of broad, swaying leaves. The temple slept beneath the earth, perfectly hidden, completely safe, and wonderfully quiet. It is a beautiful reminder that there is a time to be active in the world, and a time to retreat deeply into the quiet shadows, allowing yourself to rest safely under a protective blanket of peace. During its long, silent sleep beneath the dark, heavy soil, the monument became a secret keeper of time, absorbing the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of the deep jungle. The heavy tropical rains soaked through the layers of earth, gently washing the buried stone faces, while the roots of towering teak trees wove a tight, protective cradle around the ancient foundations. Deep underground, away from the harsh light of the sun and the shifting winds, the temple rested in a perfect, unchanging, cool darkness. It was an incubation of profound stillness. Just like this ancient stone marvel, you too can find comfort in hiding away from the noise of the busy world. As you pull your blankets closer, imagine pulling a soft layer of quiet earth over your own tired mind. In this safe, dark, and deeply comfortable space, Nothing can reach you, nothing can disturb you, and you are entirely free to sleep deeply, perfectly protected by the heavy silence of the night. When the temple was eventually rediscovered beneath the emerald canopy, the clearing of the ash and tangled vines was a slow, incredibly gentle process. It was like softly waking a sleeping giant who had rested undisturbed for 1,000 long years. As the dark earth was carefully brushed away, the magnificent grey stones emerged back into the pale sunlight, their intricate carvings perfectly preserved by the protective soil. The stone smiled once again, having lost none of its profound peace during its centuries of deep hibernation. This gentle reawakening proves that true tranquility, once built within, can never be destroyed by the passage of time or the heavy weight of the world. It simply waits, quiet and patient, ready to be uncovered whenever we need it. Your own inner peace is exactly like this hidden temple. It is always there, resting safely beneath the passing thoughts of the day, waiting for you to softly brush away the noise and return to its center. The stone from which Borobudur is meticulously crafted carries a remarkably gentle, muted palette that perfectly complements the quiet hours of twilight. It is not a harsh, gleaming white, nor an intimidating, impenetrable black, but a soft, deeply soothing shade of warm, dusty gray. In the early moments of dusk, this gentle color absorbs the fading pinks and soft violets of the sky, blending seamlessly into the cooling atmosphere. It is a color that asks for absolutely nothing from your eyes, demanding no sharp focus and creating no sudden glare. Looking at this endless expanse of quiet gray stone is like looking into a soft, comforting fog that gently blurs the sharp edges of reality. The visual softness wraps around your tired vision like a cool, damp cloth, easing the strain behind your eyes and inviting a deep, heavy relaxation. As you visualize this endless sea of calming gray, feel your eyelids becoming heavy, ready to softly close against the gentle night. Surrounding the ancient monument, the sweeping tropical forest acts as an enormous living acoustic buffer, absorbing any harsh sounds from the distant modern world. The broad, waxy leaves of the banana trees and the thick, dense fronds of the towering palms catch the wind, turning any sudden gusts into a continuous, soothing, oceanic rustle. Within the temple's stone walls, the only sounds that remain are incredibly soft and profoundly natural. You might hear the distant, rhythmic call of a lonely night bird, or the gentle, erratic hum of crickets softly tuning their nighttime instruments. This beautiful, muted soundscape creates a wonderful auditory cocoon, perfectly insulating the stone terraces from the chaotic rush of the outside world. It is a natural, acoustic sanctuary, where the deep silence is only ever softly decorated, never abruptly broken. Listening to this imaginary symphony of slow, gentle rustling and quiet night breezes, your mind can slowly unravel, sinking effortlessly into the thick, protective blanket of the jungle night. As the deepest hours of the night gently settle over the silent valley, a thick, cooling mist begins to rise slowly from the ancient riverbeds below. This soft, glowing vapor weaves its way through the dense jungle, wrapping its pale, delicate fingers around the dark trunks of the mahogany trees. Slowly, the silver fog drifts upward, spilling gently over the lower stone terraces of the grand monument like a quiet, slow-moving river of milk. The mist softens every sharp edge and blurs the intricate carvings, turning the solid volcanic stone into something that looks beautifully weightless, floating on a cloud. Breathing in this cool, damp air feels incredibly refreshing, clearing away the lingering dust of your thoughts. The fog acts as a visual lullaby, hiding the complex world below and leaving only the smooth, empty upper platforms visible against the starry sky. It is a soft, shifting blanket that tucks the ancient temple safely into the quiet, welcoming arms of the deep night. High above the softly glowing mist, the tropical sky stretches out in a vast, uninterrupted ocean of deep, velvety indigo. The stars here do not simply shine, they pulse with a slow, gentle rhythm, like 1,000 tiny silver hearts beating in perfect unison. Because there are no city lights to wash them away, the Milky Way stretches across the cosmos like a sweeping bridge of pale, luminous dust. The smooth, curved shapes of the stone stupas mirror the vast dome of the heavens, creating a feeling that you are walking softly among the stars themselves. This immense quiet sky puts the mind completely at ease, offering a profound sense of scale that makes earthly worries seem incredibly small and fleeting. Looking up into this endless, sparkling darkness, you can feel your own mind expanding, becoming as vast, clear, and perfectly peaceful as the infinite universe resting quietly above the ancient stone canopy. If you were to run your fingertips slowly along the surface of the ancient walls, you would feel the unique, comforting texture of the volcanic rock. It is not polished like cold marble, but delightfully coarse, filled with thousands of tiny natural pores that have breathed with the changing seasons for over a millennium. This subtle roughness feels deeply grounding, a physical reminder of the Earth's profound, quiet strength. As you trace the slow curves of a carved lotus petal, your skin absorbs the deep, ancient history locked within the stone. These tiny pores have captured the soft whispers of countless passing winds, the heavy warmth of the tropical sun, and the cool, delicate touch of endless midnight rains. The stone is alive with a gentle, sleeping energy. Touching it softly anchors your drifting mind, pulling your awareness out of a busy headspace and returning it gently to the deep, physical calm of the present moment. In the quiet, shadowed spaces between the massive stone walls, tiny, soft lights begin to flicker and dance in the dark. Hundreds of fireflies emerge from the sleeping jungle, drawn to the quiet safety of the ancient monument. They float effortlessly through the empty corridors, glowing with a soft, warm luminescence that blinks in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. These delicate floating lanterns drift around the quiet faces of the resting statues, casting tiny, fleeting halos of golden light that vanish as quickly as they appear. Watching this slow, silent ballet is incredibly mesmerizing, a perfect distraction for a tired mind that needs to gently let go. The soft, rhythmic blinking matches the slow, steady pace of your breathing, gently guiding your heart rate into a deep, relaxed state. These tiny, glowing creatures seem to carry the gentle magic of the night, turning the ancient stone paths into a deeply enchanting, perfectly safe dreamscape for you to wander. Over the long, quiet centuries, the humid, gentle breath of the jungle has painted the gray volcanic stone with exquisite, muted splashes of deep emerald and pale jade. Soft, velvety moss and delicate, blooming lichens have found permanent, peaceful homes in the quiet crevices of the carvings. These tiny, resilient plants do not harm the stone. Instead, they wrap it in a slow, tender embrace, adding a beautiful, organic softness to the monumental architecture. The moss is incredibly thick and springy, catching the morning dew and holding onto tiny, sparkling droplets of water that glimmer softly in the moonlight. This gentle green covering is a beautiful reminder that nature is always softly renewing itself, quietly growing in the spaces left behind by time. Observing this deeply harmonious relationship between the heavy, ancient stone and the delicate, living moss brings a profound sense of natural balance to the mind, suggesting that even the heaviest thoughts can be softened by time. The large, hollow stone structures resting on the upper platforms, the stupas, are shaped exactly like massive inverted bells resting silently under the sky. This particular shape is universally recognized by the deepest parts of the human mind as a symbol of gentle gathering and profound containment. The smooth, sweeping curve of the stone starts wide at the heavy base and gently tapers upward, drawing the eye in a smooth, continuous motion toward a single quiet point reaching for the stars. Just like a real bell waiting to be softly struck, these stone structures seem to hold a permanent, resonant potential for deep, melodic sound. Yet, they remain perfectly silent, beautifully withholding their song. Imagining the deep, empty space inside these stone bells creates a feeling of wonderful, uncluttered spaciousness within your own head. It is a safe, hollow sanctuary where thoughts are not trapped, but gently held in a soft, dark, and perfectly silent space. The grand stairways that lead you slowly from the shadowed lower levels to the bright open sky are not merely physical steps, but a deeply intentional journey for the resting soul. Each individual step was carved to be slightly taller and deeper than necessary, forcing the traveler to move with an incredibly deliberate, unhurried grace. You cannot rush these ancient stones. They demand a slow, rhythmic pace, naturally slowing your breathing and grounding your physical energy with every gentle lift of the foot. As you visualize yourself softly climbing these smooth, time-worn stairs, you are leaving behind the heavy, complex layers of the lower world. With each slow, deliberate step upward, your mind feels lighter, gradually shedding the accumulated weight of the long day. The ascent is incredibly smooth, a gentle, upward floating motion that guides you effortlessly toward the absolute, quiet simplicity of the starry, circular terraces waiting peacefully at the summit. When the warm, equatorial night breeze sweeps gently down from the towering volcanic peaks, it flows smoothly through the endless, empty corridors of the monument. Because the walls are perfectly curved and the spaces are deeply harmonious, the wind does not howl or rush, but simply sings a soft, continuous rushing sigh. It is a deeply soothing, natural white noise, like the sound of an ancient ocean breathing slowly in the dark. The cool air gently sweeps the smooth stone floors, carrying away the lingering warmth of the sun and replacing it with the fresh, clean scent of high-altitude pine and distant rain. Listening to this invisible breath weaving through the stone pathways feels incredibly cleansing, as if the gentle wind is slowly sweeping through the corridors of your own mind. It softly clears away any tangled thoughts, leaving behind a profound, sweeping emptiness that feels incredibly light, wonderfully cool, and perfectly prepared for a long, deep sleep. If you were a night bird gliding silently high above the ancient valley, looking down at the monument bathed in silver moonlight, you would see the absolute perfection of its design. From this quiet, floating perspective, the temple is no longer a mountain of heavy stone, but an intricate, beautiful blossom opening softly toward the dark sky. The square, shadowed bases look like heavy, folded leaves resting on the earth, while the perfectly circular upper terraces form the delicate, glowing petals of a massive, resting lotus flower. This grand, architectural flower remains perfectly still, untouched by the shifting seasons, blooming eternally in the deep, silent jungle. Picturing this magnificent, geometric blossom, glowing softly in the dark, provides the mind with a deeply comforting focal point. It is a vast, beautiful symbol of absolute order and unending peace, assuring you that beneath the chaotic surface of the world, there is a beautiful, perfectly balanced structure holding everything together. Centuries ago, as the moon slowly crested the surrounding mountains, the quiet air around the temple would have been filled with the deep, rhythmic vibrations of 1,000 soft voices. Monks in flowing robes would gather to quietly hum ancient, soothing syllables, their low voices blending perfectly together like a slow, continuous river of sound. Though those physical voices have long since faded into the passing years, the porous volcanic stone has perfectly absorbed the gentle resonance of their devotion. In the profound silence of the modern night, if you listen very closely, you can almost feel the faint, lingering vibration of those ancient lullabies humming softly in the rock. It is a deep, warm hum that gently vibrates at a calming, low frequency, completely bypassing the busy, thinking mind and directly soothing the heavy, tired body. Let this imaginary, ancient resonance wash softly over you, slowly rocking your consciousness into a state of deep, absolute tranquility. Beneath the heavy stone foundations, deeply hidden from the eyes of the night, lies a vast, invisible network of ancient tree roots and slow-moving underground streams. The soft, porous earth of the valley acts as an enormous, gentle sponge, holding deep reservoirs of cool, clear mountain water. This water moves incredibly slowly, slipping silently between the smooth grains of sand and weaving its way through the grasping, dark roots of the jungle overhead. It is a deep subterranean pulse, a slow hidden circulation that nourishes the giant banyan trees and keeps the surrounding forest eternally lush and green. Imagining this slow, quiet flow of deep, cool water brings a wonderful sense of fluidity to the resting body. Just like the smooth, patient streams moving silently beneath the heavy stone temple, you can let your own energy flow smoothly and slowly downward, releasing all tension into the comforting dark depths of the welcoming earth. Along the long shadowed walls of the middle galleries, there is a beautifully carved, endless story that slowly follows the journey of a young, gentle seeker named Sudana. Panel by panel, the soft stone illustrates his long, quiet walk across the ancient world in search of absolute, unwavering peace. He visits wise sages sitting by quiet rivers, climbs gentle mountains to speak with resting scholars, and wanders through perfectly still, blossoming forests. The visual pacing of his carved journey is incredibly unhurried, offering no sudden actions and no dramatic conclusions, only a slow, beautiful continuation of a peaceful walk. Following his journey in the dim moonlight is deeply relaxing, allowing your mind to softly attach itself to his slow, steady footsteps. You do not need to figure out where he is going, nor do you need to understand his destination. You simply walk quietly beside him in the stone, stepping slowly into a deep, uninterrupted calmness. Imagine the deeply quiet morning over 1,000 years ago, when the very first heavy stone of this immense monument was softly lowered into the cool, dark earth. There were no harsh machines, only the gentle, synchronized movements of careful, loving hands. The stone was placed with absolute reverence, sinking deeply into a soft bed of earth, perfectly leveled and aligned with the quiet rotation of the stars. That single, foundational block still rests exactly where it was placed, completely undisturbed by the passing of countless centuries, having never shifted a single tiny fraction of an inch. Meditating on that perfectly resting, immovable center brings a profound sense of deep, heavy stability to the wandering mind. It is a beautiful anchor in the fast-flowing river of time. Just as that heavy stone rests perfectly calm in the dark earth, you can allow your own body to sink deeply into the mattress, finding that same immovable, deeply comfortable peace. As the misty night deepens, the gentle, invisible orchestra of the jungle canopy begins its slow, rhythmic performance. The soft, metallic trill of 1,000 hidden crickets creates a continuous, shimmering wall of sound that perfectly blankets the heavy stone terraces. Their tiny, delicate songs do not compete with the silence, but wonderfully enhance it, forming a hypnotic, vibrating hum that seems to make the cool night air itself tremble softly. Occasionally, a single low hoot of an owl drifts down from a towering mahogany tree, echoing softly against the carved walls before melting back into the velvety dark. This endless, gentle hum of nocturnal life is deeply comforting, signaling that the busy world of the day has fully shut down, and it is entirely safe to surrender to the dark. The rhythmic pulsing of the insect chorus acts like a natural sonic metronome, slowly guiding your brainwaves into the long, slow patterns of a deeply restful sleep. At the very top of the massive central dome, there once rested a beautiful, towering stone spire, pointing gracefully into the infinite sky. Over the long, silent centuries, this delicate pinnacle slowly weathered away or gently fell into the surrounding jungle, leaving the enormous central bell perfectly smooth and softly rounded. Rather than feeling incomplete, this gentle smoothing by the hands of time makes the monument feel incredibly mellow and profoundly calm. It no longer reaches sharply into the heavens, but instead rests deeply and comfortably within its own vast weight. This natural softening of sharp edges is a beautiful lesson for a tired mind. You do not always need to reach, to strive, or to hold a perfectly sharp point. Just like the ancient weathered dome, it is perfectly fine to let the sharp edges of your day gently erode away, leaving only a soft, quiet, and deeply resting center that demands absolutely nothing. When the warm, heavy tropical rains eventually drift over the valley, they do not arrive with a sudden crash, but begin with a slow, gentle tapping against the broad jungle leaves. Slowly, the soft shower sweeps over the vast stone mandala, painting the warm gray rock with deep, rich shades of charcoal and shining silver. The rain moves in beautiful, sweeping curtains, washing away the fine dust of the long, dry season and filling the air with the incredibly comforting, earthy scent of wet soil and bruised green foliage. The smooth stone channels gather the gentle water, allowing it to flow softly down the steep, terraced sides in 100 tiny, melodic waterfalls. Listening to this imaginary rainfall is deeply soothing, wrapping the world in a cool, liquid embrace. The constant, soft patter of the falling drops creates a perfect curtain of white noise, slowly washing away any lingering stress and leaving the mind beautifully clean and perfectly clear. Placed beautifully along the square, lower galleries, hundreds of serene statues sit facing gently outward toward the vast sleeping world. They act as quiet, eternal sentinels, peacefully watching the deep jungle, the distant mountains, and the slow turning of the distant stars. They are not guarding the temple with sharp weapons or tense muscles, but with the profound, overwhelming power of absolute stillness. Their calm, heavy presence creates an invisible, soothing perimeter of safety around the ancient sanctuary. Knowing that these beautiful stone guardians are looking out into the night, keeping a slow, permanent watch over the valley, allows the inner mind to completely relax its own vigilance. You do not need to keep watch tonight. You can safely release your grip on the surrounding world, trusting these silent, ancient figures to stand guard while you slowly slip away into the dark, comforting, and entirely protected realm of deep, restorative slumber. As you rest safely in the deepest part of the night, you can imagine the very slow, eventual approach of the tropical dawn. Long before the sun is visible, the thick, heavy mist that has blanketed the temple begins to shift and thin out, gently breathing its way back into the deep jungle. The cool, grey light of early morning slowly reveals the damp, sleeping stone, leaving hundreds of tiny, shining pearls of dew resting perfectly on the smooth, carved lotus petals. This extremely slow transition from the heavy dark to the soft, silver twilight is completely effortless, a gentle, natural awakening of the earth that requires absolutely no energy. Watching this imaginary mist slowly retreat brings a wonderful sense of quiet clearing to the head. It perfectly mirrors the slow, deeply restful cycles of your own sleep, moving gently and gracefully through the darkest hours, constantly bathed in an atmosphere of profound, untouched peace. The incredible mathematics hidden within the walls of this grand sanctuary offer a deep, deeply satisfying comfort to the logical parts of the resting brain. The architects used a very specific, beautiful ratio of measurements to design every single terrace, every carved square, and every sweeping circle, repeating the exact same harmonious proportions over and over again on a massive scale. This vast repeating geometry creates a deeply reliable, perfectly structured environment where absolutely nothing feels out of place or unexpectedly chaotic. When the mind is tired and seeking rest, it naturally craves this kind of beautiful, predictable order. Imagining the flawless, symmetrical lines of the monument stretching perfectly across the valley floor helps to gently untangle complex, knotted thoughts. You can trace these perfect, sweeping lines in your mind, following their smooth, reliable paths until your thoughts naturally fall into the same beautiful, deeply relaxed, and perfectly ordered rhythm of the ancient mathematical stone. In the deep, velvety hours of the midnight sky, when the bright moon briefly slips behind a slow-moving, heavy cloud, the ancient volcanic stone seems to hold its very own, remarkably faint inner glow. It is not an actual light, but a deeply beautiful trick of the shadows and the highly textured, porous surface of the heavy rock. The pale grey blocks seem to softly hover in the complete darkness, creating a profound, dreamlike atmosphere where the heavy weight of the world seems to magically dissolve. This gentle, barely visible luminescence makes the monumental architecture feel incredibly soft, like a fragile, beautiful memory floating gently at the very edge of sleep. Staring into this soft, glowing darkness allows the tired eyes to completely relax their focus. You do not need to see clearly anymore. Just let the soft, hovering shapes blur together, surrendering completely to the deep, comfortable, and beautifully formless dark of the quiet night. Imagine turning away from the high, open sky of the circular terraces, preparing for a very slow, deeply peaceful descent back toward the soft, welcoming earth. With each gentle step down the smooth, worn stairs, the deep shadowed walls of the lower galleries slowly rise back up around you, gently wrapping you in their cool, protective embrace. You are leaving the vastness of the infinite cosmos and gently returning to the heavy, comforting safety of the grounded world. The air becomes slightly thicker, richer with the deeply comforting sense of the damp jungle and the heavy, sweet earth. This slow downward motion perfectly mimics the deeply relaxing sensation of falling asleep, a gentle, heavy sinking into a perfectly safe, closely held space. With every slow, deliberate step down into the shadows, feel your body becoming heavier, sinking deeper and deeper into the quiet, warm comfort of the quiet night waiting patiently below. In the deep, sprawling forest immediately surrounding the ancient stone walls, an entire kingdom of beautiful creatures is resting quietly in the thick, dark canopy. Gentle macaques curl tightly together on heavy branches, their soft, warm breathing perfectly synchronized in the cool night air. Beautiful, brightly colored birds have tucked their heads deeply under their soft wings, gently rocking with the incredibly slow, sweeping motion of the giant trees in the night breeze. There is no hunting, no moving, and no searching. The entire jungle has collectively agreed to pause, surrendering deeply to the quiet healing of the dark. Feeling the immense presence of all these beautifully resting lives brings a deep, universal sense of shared comfort. You are gently invited to join this massive, breathing tapestry of absolute rest. Let your own body curl into a deeply comfortable space, entirely safe, entirely warm, and surrounded by the deep, peaceful slumber of the natural ancient world. Despite being built from over 2 million heavy, interlocking blocks of dark volcanic rock, the brilliant, ancient design of the temple creates an overwhelming, beautiful illusion of complete weightlessness. The smooth, sweeping lines draw the eye constantly upward, making the heavy stone terraces appear as if they are gently floating above the lush green valley, completely untethered from the heavy pull of gravity. This beautiful architectural magic is incredibly soothing for a deeply tired body, as you visualize the massive, heavy stone resting so lightly, so perfectly balanced against the starry sky. You can allow your own muscles to let go of their heavy grip. Imagine that you too are floating, completely weightless, gently resting on a soft, supportive cloud of quiet air. The heavy burdens of the passing day are completely released, leaving you perfectly light, beautifully empty, and wonderfully free to drift effortlessly into the deep, dark ocean of the night. Carved beautifully into the high corners of the sweeping arches are tiny, exquisite faces known as kala, placed there to softly swallow time itself and protect the sacred space from any lingering stressful thoughts. These ancient protective faces have incredibly wide, beautifully calm expressions, perfectly silently absorbing all the hurried energy of the passing world. They are the gentle, quiet filters of the ancient sanctuary, ensuring that only the absolute purest, deeply calming energy is allowed to softly enter the silent galleries. Imagining these quiet, beautiful watchers acting as gentle filters for your own resting mind is incredibly comforting. You can trust them to softly catch any last racing thoughts or lingering worries, swallowing them completely into the deep, ancient stone. With every slow, quiet breath, know that your sleep is deeply protected, beautifully filtered, and completely safe from any unwanted noise, allowing you to rest completely undisturbed until the gentle light of the morning. To sit silently in the exact center of this beautiful ancient monument is to sit quietly at the very axis of a vast, gently spinning wheel. While the distant stars slowly rotate above, and the sweeping clouds drift lazily across the vast valley below, the deep, heavy stone beneath you remains absolutely perfectly still. You have found a quiet, secret place where the rushing movement of the world simply cannot reach you. This perfectly calm, immovable center is completely free from the tiring, endless pull of time and the busy expectations of the changing seasons. As you slowly drift deeper into sleep, imagine that your own mind has gently found this exact same, deeply quiet center. Let everything else gently spin away into the dark, distant background. You are resting deeply here, perfectly still, perfectly safe, completely anchored to the warm, ancient earth, wrapped beautifully in an endless, quiet, and profoundly peaceful night. The smooth, wide steps leading upward have been gently softened by the barefoot passage of countless quiet wanderers over the long centuries. Every edge that was once sharp has been worn down into a perfectly rounded, deeply comforting curve, shaped entirely by the softest of human touches. Walking these ancient paths in your mind, you can feel the beautiful, smooth depressions left behind by those seeking deep, absolute peace before you. The stone remembers their quiet devotion, holding a soft, lingering warmth that gently cradles your feet. This is a path perfectly worn in for you, requiring no effort, no breaking in, and no careful navigation. You simply follow the beautifully smooth, welcoming grooves, letting the ancient stone gently guide you upward into the cool, silent night. The deep comfort of these worn stones is a quiet reminder that the journey to total relaxation is deeply familiar, completely safe, and wonderfully easy to gently slip into. Gazing down from the sweeping stone terraces, The sprawling Kedu Valley below rests under a vast, thick blanket of deep blue shadows and softly glowing silver mist. The tiny winding rivers that carve through the emerald landscape are completely still in the moonlight, looking like delicate ribbons of fallen stars gently resting on the dark earth. The vast sleeping valley breathes with a deep, slow rhythm, completely undisturbed by the turning of the night. Up here, wrapped in the cool, silent air of the ancient monument, you are wonderfully detached from the heavy world below. The valley is beautiful, but it is deeply quiet and wonderfully far away. As you observe this vast, sleeping expanse, you can let go of all earthly attachments, allowing your mind to softly detach and float high above, completely safe and entirely at peace on this massive ancient island of floating stone. Deep within the endless, shadowed galleries, the ancient artisans carved beautiful, slow-moving herds of majestic elephants into the dark volcanic rock. These gentle giants are depicted resting in lush, quiet forests, their heavy trunks curling softly around blooming lotus flowers. Even cast in solid stone, they carry a profound sense of heavy, gentle slowness, perfectly capturing the beautiful, unhurried rhythm of the natural world. Watching them quietly standing in the moonlight, you can almost feel the deep, resonant rumble of their slow, comforting breathing echoing softly in your own chest. These massive, peaceful creatures ask absolutely nothing of the world, simply existing in a state of quiet, heavy contentment. Imagining their massive, restful weight helps to gently anchor your own body, slowly pulling any nervous energy down into the deep, welcoming mattress. Let your limbs become as comfortably heavy and completely relaxed as the quiet, sleeping elephants carved beautifully into the ancient wall. Sometimes, long before the first drop even falls, the cool night breeze carries the incredibly sweet, deeply refreshing scent of distant rain, traveling slowly across the vast tropical canopy. It is a soft, earthy perfume of crushed green ferns, damp volcanic soil, and the delicate closing petals of night-blooming jasmine. This deeply comforting fragrance whispers through the empty stone corridors, gently sweeping away the lingering heat of the long day. Breathing in this fresh, humid air feels like taking a slow, deep drink of incredibly pure, cool water, instantly calming the tired mind and perfectly clearing the heavy head. It is the gentle scent of absolute renewal, softly promising that the world is being quietly washed and perfectly cared for while you rest. Let this imaginary, sweet perfume softly fill your lungs, bringing a deep, deeply cleansing peace to every quiet corner of your heavily resting body. Just outside the heavy stone boundaries of the ancient sanctuary, massive banyan trees stand as quiet, towering sentinels in the deep velvet night. Their incredibly long, sweeping aerial roots hang completely motionless in the cool air, forming thick, dark curtains that softly filter the bright silver moonlight. These giant ancient trees cast long, beautifully complex shadows that gently dance across the lowest stone terraces, moving with an impossibly slow, hypnotic grace. The deep protective darkness under their sweeping branches creates a wonderful, cool sanctuary, perfectly hiding the resting jungle from the open sky. Imagining the deep, comforting shade of these ancient trees offers a profoundly safe place for your tired thoughts to finally settle. You can gently tuck your mind away beneath their heavy, dark leaves, perfectly hidden from any bright lights or loud noises, completely enveloped in a soft, deeply protective, and wonderfully silent tropical embrace. When a deeply soft, warm night breeze eventually drifts over the ancient, sweeping terraces, it feels exactly like a slow, comforting exhale from the sleeping mountain. It carries absolutely no chill, only a deeply pleasant, incredibly gentle warmth that softly brushes against the exposed skin like the finest, dark silk. This invisible, flowing current gently wraps around the smooth, bell-shaped stupas, creating a beautiful, silent friction that you cannot hear, but can only deeply feel. It is a slow, continuous stroke that perfectly smooths out any remaining tension in your tired shoulders and heavy neck. The gentle wind does not ask you to move, it simply flows softly over you, offering a deep, deeply soothing caress. As you feel this imaginary, warm breeze drifting smoothly across your body, allow it to gently carry away the very last heavy fragments of the day, leaving you perfectly light and entirely relaxed. The passage of the night here is not measured by the sharp, ticking hands of a clock, but by the incredibly slow, majestic arc of the glowing silver moon across the deep indigo sky. As the hours gently dissolve, the bright moonlight softly crawls across the intricately carved walls, slowly illuminating one peaceful, resting face at a time. This slow, celestial rhythm is profoundly comforting, moving at a pace that entirely escapes the rushed, frantic expectations of the modern world. Watching this slow, silent shift of the shadows is like watching the incredibly slow turning of the vast universe itself, moving with absolute, perfect certainty. There is absolutely no need to hurry sleep tonight. It will arrive perfectly naturally, following the exact same, slow, deeply beautiful rhythm of the turning sky. Simply rest quietly, completely supported by the ancient stone, and let the gentle night slowly unfold exactly as it was meant to. On perfectly quiet, deeply still nights, the thick, heavy mist settles so deeply into the vast valley that the sweeping stone terraces appear to float completely untethered in the deep, dark sky. It is a profound, beautifully sweeping illusion of absolute elevation, making the ancient monument look like a vast, deeply silent ship sailing smoothly through an endless ocean of soft white clouds. Sitting quietly on these upper platforms, surrounded only by the deep glowing stars and the soft, empty mist below, brings a wonderful, overwhelming sense of absolute detachment. All earthly concerns, all heavy responsibilities, and all tangled thoughts are perfectly buried beneath the thick, soft clouds far below. You are resting safely on this quiet, floating island, completely unreachable and wonderfully isolated from the busy world. Let your mind become beautifully empty, gently floating in this vast, cool, and incredibly silent ocean of deep, perfect peace. Woven deeply into the long, beautiful stone narratives are thousands of perfectly carved, delicate lotus flowers, caught forever in the gentle act of softly blooming in the dark. In ancient lore, the lotus is the ultimate quiet symbol of profound peace, gently pushing its way through the heavy, dark mud to blossom perfectly clean and beautifully pure on the calm surface of the water. Even beautifully carved in solid gray volcanic rock, these exquisite flowers seem to hold a soft, quiet vitality, gracefully unfolding their smooth, heavy petals toward the distant stars. Meditating on these beautiful carved blossoms is a deeply soothing, perfectly visual lullaby. You can imagine your own mind exactly like a gently resting lotus, slowly folding its petals tightly together as the dark night deepens. Let your thoughts softly close, completely protecting your quiet center, leaving you perfectly bundled and beautifully safe for a long, deep sleep. If you close your eyes and listen very closely to the deep, silent air, you can almost sense the incredibly soft, invisible footsteps of the thousands of gentle wanderers who came here centuries ago. They did not come with noise or hurried demands, but walked with an incredibly slow, perfectly deliberate reverence, seeking only absolute quiet peace. They left behind a deep, unseen residue of profound tranquility, a beautiful collective calmness that has permanently soaked into the heavy, porous stone. The ancient monument is absolutely saturated with the memory of deep, undisturbed meditation. You are gently walking in the invisible footprints of those who mastered the beautiful art of complete stillness. Absorbing this deeply peaceful, ancient energy is wonderfully comforting, allowing you to easily slip into the exact same, slow, perfectly relaxed state of mind. You are completely surrounded by centuries of deep, beautiful, and absolutely perfect peace. The sweeping, magnificent architecture of this grand sanctuary is a flawless, deeply beautiful marriage between the heavy, grounded earth below and the vast, empty sky above. The wide, incredibly heavy stone bases gently anchor the monument deep into the tropical soil, providing an overwhelming sense of immovable, completely safe stability. As the terraces slowly rise and curve, they elegantly dissolve into smooth, empty circles, perfectly blending into the vast, airy lightness of the dark cosmos. This beautiful architectural harmony perfectly balances the deeply tired body and the heavily wandering mind. You can feel the deep, comforting pull of the earth, safely holding your resting body, while your mind is completely free to gently expand and softly float into the boundless starry night. It is a perfect, ancient equilibrium, wrapping you completely in a deep, sweeping sense of absolute balance, wonderful lightness, and perfectly profound calm. When the gentle light of the full moon perfectly strikes the broad, empty terraces, the grey volcanic rock seems to softly transform, taking on a deeply beautiful, almost translucent pearlescent glow. It no longer looks like heavy ancient earth, but rather like softly glowing, carved moonlight, gently resting in the heart of the deep jungle. This soft, beautifully muted illumination is incredibly gentle on the resting eyes, creating a deeply profound, dreamlike atmosphere that feels entirely separated from the waking world. Staring softly at this incredibly pale, glowing stone is wonderfully hypnotic, slowly washing away the bright, sharp images of the busy day. The soft light asks absolutely nothing of your attention, simply existing as a quiet, beautiful presence in the dark. Let this beautiful, pale glow softly fill your mind, gently clearing away any remaining shadows and guiding you smoothly into a beautifully bright, perfectly clear, and completely peaceful rest. Far below the ancient, glowing terraces, the vast, sweeping tropical valley has completely surrendered to the deep, heavy embrace of the quiet night. The farmers have long since returned to their quiet, darkened homes, and the tiny, glowing fires in the distant villages have softly burned down to perfectly calm, glowing embers. The entire sweeping landscape is resting deeply, wrapped completely in a wonderfully thick, uninterrupted silence. Knowing that the entire surrounding world is sleeping so deeply brings a wonderful shared sense of deep permission to finally let go. You are not missing anything in the dark, and the busy world will patiently wait for the gentle dawn. You can effortlessly join the quiet valley, completely releasing your hold on the waking hours and allowing yourself to sink deeply into the beautiful collective slumber of the vast, ancient, and perfectly quiet equatorial night. If you look directly upward from the sweeping, perfectly circular upper terraces, you might notice how beautifully the brilliant, glowing constellations seem to perfectly align with the smooth, curved stone of the silent bells. The ancient astronomers who designed this peaceful sanctuary understood the deep, quiet geometry of the turning sky, perfectly mirroring the vast, empty heavens in the heavy, warm stone below. This beautiful, quiet reflection creates a profound sense of absolute belonging. The temple is not simply resting on the earth, but is perfectly, beautifully locked into the vast, sweeping rotation of the ancient universe. Meditating on this massive, perfectly aligned structure brings a wonderful, deep comfort to the resting mind. Everything is perfectly in its place, perfectly ordered, and completely serene. You are beautifully held within this vast, ancient geometry, perfectly aligned with the deeply calming, slow rotation of the infinite, sparkling night sky. Should you gently step off the beautifully smooth, worn stone path and walk softly into the shadowed corners of the lower galleries, you would feel the incredibly thick, deeply soft carpet of ancient velvety moss beneath your bare feet. It is deeply cool, wonderfully spongy, and incredibly tender, having grown undisturbed in the deep shade for countless quiet centuries. This beautiful living carpet softly absorbs every single sound, perfectly muffling any remaining echoes of the busy world. Standing quietly on this thick, green softness feels incredibly grounding, instantly connecting your deeply tired body with the slow, patient, and completely gentle energy of the ancient forest floor. You can imagine resting your head on exactly this kind of deep, soft, and incredibly cool moss. It perfectly cradles the heavy weight of your thoughts, gently absorbing all your fatigue into the deeply peaceful, quietly living earth. At the quiet, shadowy base of every grand, sweeping staircase, beautifully carved mythical creatures known as makaras rest peacefully in the dark volcanic stone. Unlike fierce, roaring beasts, these ancient, quiet guardians have beautifully soft, deeply gentle eyes and completely relaxed, softly curling trunks. They do not guard the heavy stone steps with tension or fear, but with a profound, beautifully overwhelming aura of complete, absolute calm. They simply sit, endlessly patient, quietly watching the deep jungle as the slow centuries gently drift by. Passing between these softly carved, peaceful figures feels incredibly safe, like quietly walking through the beautifully protected gates of a deeply silent, ancient dream. They perfectly filter out any lingering anxiety, ensuring that only pure, absolutely peaceful thoughts are allowed to gently climb the smooth, worn stairs with you. Your deeply resting mind is completely, beautifully protected by these silent, ancient, and entirely gentle stone guardians. In the absolute, perfect stillness of the deep midnight hours, the sweeping silence is so incredibly profound that you might gently hear the soft, beautifully delicate sound of a single large jungle leaf softly detaching from a towering canopy above. It falls incredibly slowly, gently weaving and softly sweeping back and forth through the cool, dark air, before landing with a barely audible, deeply satisfying whisper against the perfectly smooth, cool stone of the ancient terrace. This incredibly tiny, deeply solitary sound does not break the wonderful silence, but beautifully highlights how perfectly, wonderfully quiet the entire world has truly become. Focusing on that incredibly slow, gently drifting leaf creates a beautiful, perfectly visual anchor for the tired mind. You can let your own thoughts slowly detach, drifting smoothly and completely weightlessly through the quiet dark, before settling softly and perfectly peacefully into the absolute deep stillness of the night. Sitting quietly beside one of the hundreds of beautifully serene, perfectly carved stone figures, you can almost physically feel the incredibly deep, radiating aura of their absolute, unwavering calm. They have sat perfectly still through the heaviest sweeping monsoon rains and the brightest, deeply quiet equatorial afternoons, completely, beautifully untouched by the endlessly changing weather of the passing world. Their gracefully lowered eyes and perfectly relaxed, smoothly carved shoulders silently project an incredibly powerful message of absolute, perfect acceptance. They are completely, wonderfully at peace with absolutely everything, exactly as it is. Absorbing this beautiful ancient energy is incredibly relaxing for the deeply exhausted mind. You do not need to change anything tonight. You do not need to fix anything, and you perfectly belong exactly where you are. Just let your body completely mirror their beautiful, perfect stillness, softly sinking into the exact same deep, ancient, and wonderfully quiet peace. As the deeply bright silver moon slowly shifts across the vast, sweeping sky, the deep velvet shadows cast by the heavy stone stupas slowly stretch and beautifully lengthen across the completely empty, perfectly smooth terraces. These beautifully dark, incredibly cool pockets of deep shadow offer a profound, deeply comforting visual relief from even the softest, gentle moonlight. They are like beautiful, quiet pools of absolute, perfect darkness, perfectly resting on the pale, glowing stone. Slipping quietly into one of these deep, cool shadows feels exactly like pulling a beautifully thick, perfectly dark, and incredibly soft blanket over your tired eyes. It is a deeply safe, wonderfully hidden space where absolutely nothing demands your attention. Let your deeply resting mind gently seek out these beautiful, cool pockets of perfect, absolute dark, allowing the heavy, comforting shadows to perfectly, completely swallow the very last, lingering traces of your busy day. Long before the very first, beautifully smooth blocks of this grand monument were carefully laid, the incredibly slow, perfectly patient rivers of the vast valley spent countless, quiet millennia, gently smoothing the heavy volcanic rocks. The water moved with an incredibly slow, entirely unhurried determination, beautifully polishing the heavy, dark stone grain by perfectly tiny grain. This deep, ancient patience is completely, beautifully woven into the very fabric of the massive resting sanctuary. It is a quiet, beautiful reminder that absolute, perfect smoothness and deep, profound peace are never, ever rushed. They are beautifully, naturally cultivated over a long, completely quiet stretch of gentle time. You can allow this exact same, deeply slow, wonderfully patient energy to gently wash over you tonight. There is absolutely no rush to completely fall asleep. Just let the incredibly slow, deeply gentle current of the quiet night slowly polish away your deeply tired thoughts, walking slowly around the perfectly smooth, beautifully endless rings of the upper terraces. The deeply tired mind beautifully realizes that there are absolutely no sharp corners or abrupt, sudden endings left in the world. The pathway is a completely flawless, deeply sweeping circle, gently looping back onto itself in a beautifully smooth, incredibly harmonious, and completely endless repetition. This beautiful sacred geometry perfectly breaks the stressful, linear, and heavily structured thought patterns of the busy, waking day. you are not quietly marching toward any specific demanding destination. You are simply beautifully wandering in a perfectly safe, infinitely calm, and deeply smooth loop. Imagining this deeply perfect, endlessly curving stone path gently coaxes the heavy brainwaves into the exact same beautiful, sweeping, and entirely rhythmic pattern. Your deeply relaxed thoughts can endlessly, softly circle without ever hitting a wall, gently dissolving perfectly into the deep, infinite, and wonderfully peaceful dark. Because the ancient, perfectly resting monument sits incredibly close to the lush, deeply quiet equator. The vast, sweeping view of the sparkling cosmos is wonderfully unique and deeply, beautifully overwhelming. You can clearly see the incredibly dense, softly glowing heart of the brilliant Milky Way resting directly overhead, looking like a vast, deep river of pale, silver dust gently flowing through the deep indigo night. These exact same perfectly quiet stars have softly watched over the heavily resting stone terraces for countless, incredibly peaceful centuries, offering a profound, beautiful sense of ancient, deeply reliable continuity. They will absolutely remain perfectly exactly where they are, gently shining down long after you have peacefully drifted into a deeply restorative sleep. Staring into this vast, beautifully ancient, and incredibly deep ocean of quiet stars makes the resting body feel perfectly tiny, completely safe, and wonderfully cradled by the deeply ancient, perfectly silent universe. Even in the absolute, deeply quiet middle of the dark night, the incredibly humid, wonderfully rich tropical air slowly begins to perfectly condense on the cool, perfectly smooth surfaces of the heavy gray stone. Tiny, incredibly delicate beads of pure, deeply clear water begin to softly form on the beautifully carved, sleeping faces and the gently sweeping, stone lotus petals. These beautifully quiet, microscopic drops slowly gather in absolute silence, completely refreshing the ancient heavy rock with a perfectly cool, incredibly gentle, and deeply pure kiss of water. This deeply slow, completely invisible process of gentle accumulation is entirely effortless, naturally renewing the ancient world while it perfectly, deeply sleeps. You can imagine this perfectly cool, incredibly gentle, and beautifully pure moisture softly settling over your deeply tired eyes and perfectly relaxing your heavy brow, gently bringing a deep, completely refreshing, and wonderfully soothing coolness to your deeply resting body. As the deeply comforting, beautiful darkness perfectly reaches its absolute thickest point, the incredibly intricate, beautifully detailed carvings along the lower, shadowed galleries slowly melt entirely into the deep, velvety blackness. The epic, beautifully carved ancient stories of gentle, wandering kings, perfectly calm, resting elephants, and incredibly slow, beautiful sailing ships are completely, peacefully swallowed by the deep, gentle shadows. There are absolutely no more beautiful details to carefully trace, no more ancient, sweeping narratives to slowly follow, and perfectly nothing left to quietly figure out. The heavy, beautiful stone wall becomes a completely blank, deeply soft, an incredibly soothing canvas of absolute perfect emptiness. This gentle, beautiful fading perfectly mimics the deeply slow, completely natural fading of your own busy, conscious thoughts. Just let the incredibly complex, completely detailed stories of your own long day beautifully dissolve, slowly melting completely into the deep, welcoming, and perfectly formless, silent night. Resting your quiet, wandering mind against the incredibly massive, beautifully sweeping foundations of this grand, ancient monument brings a deeply profound, totally overwhelming feeling of absolute perfect permanence. The entire world outside these heavy, incredibly thick stone walls is constantly, endlessly changing. But this beautiful ancient sanctuary remains perfectly, deeply, and beautifully immovable. It is an incredibly vast, wonderfully heavy anchor, completely dropped into the deep, swirling ocean of time, refusing to perfectly shift or gently yield to the passing, busy centuries. You can beautifully borrow this incredibly deep, absolutely perfect stability for your own deeply resting body tonight. As you sink deeply into your wonderfully soft, perfectly quiet bed, imagine perfectly absorbing the exact same, completely unshakable, deeply heavy peace. You are perfectly grounded, incredibly safe, and wonderfully completely protected by the absolute, perfect, and deeply beautiful stillness of the heavily resting, ancient, and perfectly quiet volcanic stone. Beyond the perfectly silent stone walls of the ancient monument, the vast, sweeping valley gently rolls into incredibly soft, perfectly rounded hills that look exactly like deeply sleeping giants. These beautiful ancient mounds are completely covered in a thick, heavy blanket of dark emerald jungle, perfectly absorbing any lingering moonlight into their deeply shadowed, wonderfully cool slopes. They have rested perfectly still since the very dawn of the tropical world, perfectly framing the deeply peaceful sanctuary in a vast, incredibly heavy, and beautifully natural cradle. Looking softly out at these beautifully rolling, heavily sleeping hills creates a profound, entirely overwhelming feeling of absolute, deep security. They are the perfect, ancient guardians of the quiet night, perfectly wrapping the entire, beautifully sleeping valley in an incredibly thick, wonderfully soft perimeter of absolute, deep, and perfectly unbroken silence. Let your own deeply resting body feel exactly as heavily settled, perfectly safe, and beautifully cradled as those vast, deeply sleeping, ancient, and perfectly quiet emerald hills. When the incredibly slow, beautifully gentle midnight mist slowly settles over the thick, dark canopy of the surrounding jungle, tiny, perfectly clear beads of moisture softly collect on the broad, beautifully smooth leaves. As the heavy silver moon slowly drifts overhead, each perfectly tiny, deeply quiet drop of water briefly catches the pale, gentle light, turning the entire vast sleeping forest into a beautifully scattered, incredibly soft reflection of the sparkling ancient cosmos. It looks exactly as if the beautifully deep, incredibly vast starry sky has gently fallen perfectly to the silent sleeping earth, wrapping the ancient stone monument in a wonderfully delicate, perfectly glowing, and entirely magical embrace. Watching this beautifully slow, incredibly quiet, and softly glittering display in the deep, velvet dark is profoundly mesmerizing. It perfectly, gently clears the heavy, tired mind, beautifully replacing all tangled, busy thoughts with perfectly tiny, incredibly soft points of gentle, beautiful, and absolutely deeply peaceful, shining silver light. Every now and then, a wonderfully soft, incredibly gentle, and completely silent breeze slowly weaves its way through the vast, open, and perfectly circular upper terraces. You cannot perfectly hear it, nor can you easily see it, but you can beautifully, deeply feel its perfectly cool, incredibly delicate touch gently sweeping across the perfectly smooth, heavy volcanic stone. This beautifully invisible, completely unhurried current of deeply fresh, wonderfully clean night air acts as a perfect, gentle broom, softly sweeping away any remaining invisible dust of the incredibly long, busy day. It beautifully, slowly carries the deeply comforting, wonderfully earthy scent of the incredibly ancient, beautifully resting stone perfectly out into the dark, silent valley. Imagine this perfectly cool, incredibly gentle, and beautifully silent wind slowly washing over your own deeply resting body, perfectly carrying away the very last, deeply lingering traces of heavy tension, leaving you completely, perfectly refreshed and entirely beautifully calm, resting peacefully in the perfectly quiet, beautifully deep shadows of the lower galleries. The intricately carved stone faces of the ancient gentle figures have been wonderfully, softly blurred by the slow, perfectly patient passing of countless quiet centuries. The once sharp, perfectly distinct features have gently melted into incredibly soft, beautifully rounded, and perfectly smooth contours that suggest a deeply profound, totally overwhelming state of absolute perfect inner peace. They no longer hold any rigid, perfectly defined expressions. They simply beautifully project a vast, incredibly deep, and wonderfully generalized aura of absolute, completely unwavering, and perfectly gentle calm. Staring softly at these beautifully worn, incredibly smooth stone faces is profoundly relaxing for the deeply exhausted mind. You are beautifully reminded that you do not need to hold any sharp, perfectly defined edges tonight. You can perfectly allow your own tired, busy expressions to beautifully, softly melt away, leaving only a completely, perfectly relaxed, and wonderfully smooth, gentle peace. Deep inside each of the beautifully curved, perfectly smooth stone stupas, a profound, incredibly thick, and perfectly unbroken pocket of absolute silence is gently, wonderfully preserved. The beautifully carved, delicate diamond lattice perfectly allows the cool, gentle night air to softly drift in, but perfectly, completely filters out any lingering distant noise from the vast sleeping jungle below. The deeply empty, perfectly curved space inside these heavy stone bells beautifully acts as a perfectly safe, incredibly quiet, and entirely peaceful vacuum, wonderfully holding exactly nothing but pure, absolute, and deeply perfectly beautiful stillness. Imagining the perfect, incredibly deep emptiness resting silently within these beautifully carved ancient stone shells is incredibly, profoundly soothing. You can gently create a beautifully identical, perfectly hollow and completely quiet sanctuary perfectly deep within your own heavily resting mind. It is a wonderfully safe, absolutely perfectly silent space where no busy thoughts can ever enter, leaving you completely, deeply, and beautifully at perfect peace. The vast, perfectly repeating geometric patterns beautifully carved into the incredibly heavy, deeply resting stone walls perfectly create a profound, completely overwhelming feeling of absolute, deeply beautiful, and wonderfully predictable order. Every beautifully smooth square perfectly aligns with the next, and every gentle, sweeping curve beautifully, flawlessly mirrors its exact, perfect opposite across the vast, ancient, and deeply silent sanctuary. This incredibly precise, perfectly balanced, and beautifully sweeping symmetry perfectly offers the deeply tired brain a wonderfully secure, absolutely perfectly structured, and incredibly soothing environment where absolutely nothing is ever wonderfully out of place. Your deeply exhausted, wandering thoughts can perfectly, safely rest in these beautifully reliable, incredibly ancient, and perfectly predictable stone patterns. Just beautifully trace these perfectly flawless, gently sweeping lines in your deeply resting mind, allowing their absolute, perfect, and deeply profound balance to beautifully, completely align your own heavy, tired energy into a wonderfully deep, perfectly beautifully structured, and incredibly calm, perfectly quiet state. As the completely beautifully full, incredibly bright silver moon perfectly reaches the absolute deeply quiet zenith of the vast, sparkling tropical sky, it casts perfectly round, incredibly soft, and beautifully deep shadows directly beneath the massive, perfectly smooth stone bells. For one brief, incredibly peaceful, and perfectly completely magical moment, the beautifully ancient monument perfectly aligns with the vast, deeply bright celestial body directly above. The entire vast resting sanctuary seems to beautifully softly glow from completely within, perfectly illuminated by the deeply gentle, incredibly pure, and wonderfully soft lunar light. This perfectly fleeting, beautifully quiet, and deeply profound alignment perfectly creates a wonderful, completely overwhelming sense of absolute, perfect universal harmony. The heavily resting earth and the beautifully vast, softly glowing sky are perfectly, gently connected. You can beautifully softly feel this exact same, deeply profound, and perfectly completely unbroken connection perfectly gently, holding your own deeply resting, entirely beautifully relaxed, and perfectly quiet, sleeping body. Far beneath the incredibly heavy, beautifully carved foundation stones, the immensely deep, perfectly quiet, and incredibly thick roots of the surrounding jungle perfectly, gently hold the cool, dark earth in a beautiful, entirely unbroken, and profoundly safe embrace. These incredibly ancient, completely invisible wooden fingers weave perfectly, slowly through the deep, heavy soil, beautifully creating a vast, deeply, perfectly stable, and entirely perfectly secure, hidden network that completely, silently anchors the entire massive resting monument. You never beautifully see them, but their incredible, deep, perfectly profound, and beautifully silent strength is completely perfectly felt in the absolute, perfect immobility of the heavy, deeply resting stone above. Imagining these deeply, perfectly hidden, incredibly quiet, and beautifully strong roots perfectly holding the sleeping earth provides a wonderful, complete, and perfectly deep sense of absolute, grounded security. You are beautifully, perfectly supported by this deep, invisible, perfectly strong, and incredibly gentle, ancient, and perfectly quiet, beautifully restful, hidden embrace. Occasionally, a wonderfully thick, incredibly soft, and beautifully slow-moving cloud perfectly drifts across the vast, deeply sparkling ocean of the bright, beautiful, and absolutely completely quiet night sky. As it beautifully, perfectly passes directly in front of the softly glowing moon, The entire vast, ancient stone monument perfectly gently dips into a deeply profound, incredibly cooling, and beautifully perfectly soft shadow. The incredibly bright, shining silver light beautifully softly dims, leaving the deeply resting, ancient stone completely wrapped in a deeply comfortable, incredibly heavy, and perfectly peaceful, deeply dark veil. This wonderfully gentle, incredibly slow, and completely beautiful, perfectly rhythmic dimming of the light feels exactly like a vast, deeply gentle, and beautifully perfectly slow blinking of the deeply resting universe. It beautifully perfectly signals that it is absolutely perfectly safe to completely let go, allowing your own heavily tired eyes to perfectly gently close, beautifully completely surrendering to the incredibly soft, deeply perfect, and wonderfully comfortable dark. In the deepest, beautifully shadowed corners of the perfectly quiet, ancient lower galleries, the incredibly thick, deeply wonderfully soft carpet of emerald moss beautifully absorbs any remaining stray fragments of gentle glowing moonlight. The beautifully tiny, incredibly soft green fibers drink in the pale, soft light, leaving absolutely perfectly nothing but a deeply profound, perfectly entirely soft, and beautifully incredibly gentle, deeply resting, completely undisturbed, and perfectly quiet darkness. This wonderfully thick, perfectly beautiful living carpet acts as a completely perfect, incredibly natural, and beautifully deeply soothing filter, completely preventing any harsh, bright reflections from perfectly disturbing the incredibly deep, absolute peace of the ancient, completely perfectly resting sanctuary. Imagining this deeply soft, incredibly cool, and perfectly beautifully quiet moss, gently absorbing all the light perfectly completely mirrors the beautiful, deeply natural way your own completely resting mind slowly perfectly absorbs the fading memories of the busy day, leaving entirely perfectly nothing but a deeply, wonderfully quiet dark. Walking beautifully slowly around the vast, completely endless, and perfectly sweeping rings of the deeply empty upper terraces, you perfectly entirely lose all sense of absolute structured direction. There is absolutely no perfectly defined beginning, and completely perfectly no demanding, sudden end to the smooth, beautifully worn, and incredibly deeply peaceful stone path. You simply beautifully glide perfectly seamlessly along the wonderfully vast, incredibly perfectly curved, and deeply beautifully rounded edge of the heavily resting, perfectly completely quiet stone. This incredibly profound, beautifully, completely, perfectly continuous, entirely beautifully sweeping motion, completely, gently untangles the heavily deeply tired, completely perfectly knotted thoughts of the incredibly busy, deeply long, and perfectly wonderfully waking day. You are perfectly completely wonderfully safe to endlessly, beautifully perfectly softly circle in the dark, entirely perfectly allowing your deeply heavy, completely wonderfully relaxed mind to beautifully perfectly gently unwind, perfectly entirely smoothly drifting into a wonderfully deep, incredibly perfectly profound, and deeply beautifully peaceful, unbroken rest. If you were to perfectly softly place your beautifully completely resting, incredibly deeply heavy hand, perfectly gently upon the beautifully smooth, incredibly perfectly rounded surface of a massive, perfectly resting stone bell, you would beautifully perfectly feel absolute, perfect stillness. The completely entirely deeply heavy volcanic rock perfectly beautifully refuses to vibrate with any lingering distant echo of the completely perfectly beautifully busy, entirely waking world. It is incredibly perfectly solid, beautifully completely wonderfully quiet, and entirely perfectly totally unresponsive to completely any sudden, perfectly deeply sudden noise. This absolute, beautifully perfectly deep, entirely wonderfully complete, perfectly immovable stillness is incredibly perfectly deeply contagious, beautifully softly seeping from the ancient, perfectly heavily resting stone, perfectly completely directly into your deeply beautifully perfectly entirely resting, wonderfully completely tired body. Your entirely perfectly resting muscles can perfectly completely beautifully learn this exact same, deeply perfectly totally unshakable, incredibly perfectly deeply beautiful, and wonderfully perfectly completely peaceful, entirely silent, incredibly heavy perfectly deep stillness. Far down in the completely perfectly beautifully sleeping, deeply entirely resting tropical valley, incredibly completely thousands of delicate, perfectly beautifully soft night blooming flowers, perfectly, completely, slowly open their totally, perfectly pristine, entirely perfectly white petals to the gently, entirely perfectly glowing moon. As they completely, perfectly, beautifully unfold in the perfectly, deeply, wonderfully cool, perfectly, totally, incredibly dark air, they perfectly, completely release a beautifully, deeply, wonderfully soft, entirely, perfectly, incredibly sweet, and perfectly, totally, profoundly comforting fragrance that gently, completely, perfectly drifts up toward the ancient, deeply, beautifully, perfectly resting monument. This incredibly, entirely, beautifully invisible, completely, perfectly, wonderfully gentle, deeply, perfectly, totally soothing perfume, gently, perfectly, entirely weaves through the deeply, perfectly, completely empty, wonderfully, beautifully, perfectly smooth stone corridors, completely, entirely, perfectly blessing the beautifully, completely, heavily, deeply resting sanctuary with incredibly, entirely, totally sweet, beautifully, perfectly, wonderfully natural peace. You can completely, entirely, beautifully imagine breathing perfectly, totally, deeply into this perfectly, completely, wonderfully comforting, entirely, completely, perfectly soft, deeply, incredibly sweet, and perfectly, totally, profoundly, deeply soothing scent. Very rarely, a deeply resonant, incredibly soft rumble of distant thunder slowly rolls across the vast, beautiful tropical sky. It is absolutely never a sharp or sudden crack, but rather a profoundly deep, continuous vibration that gently shakes the heavy, resting air. This beautifully deep acoustic massage rolls smoothly over the ancient, sleeping volcanic stone, washing the grand terraces in a wonderful wave of low-frequency calm. Instead of disturbing the peace, it perfectly deepens the incredible absolute silence that immediately follows its passing. Listening to this imaginary, incredibly gentle thunder is wonderfully soothing for the tired body. It acts as a profound, natural lullaby, allowing your heavy muscles to completely relax, sinking even deeper into the wonderful, safe, and incredibly quiet embrace of your own softly resting bed. The slow, distant rumble is a beautiful reminder that the natural world is vast, powerful, and deeply peaceful, perfectly cradling you in its ancient protective arms as you slowly drift away. Along the deeply shadowed, beautifully quiet lower walls, hundreds of incredibly soft, gentle faces are carefully carved into the heavy, ancient stone. Each beautifully serene expression holds a deeply wonderful, barely visible, and entirely gentle smile. It is not a smile of sudden, fleeting joy, but rather a profound, incredibly beautiful expression of absolute, total, and completely unwavering inner peace. The ancient artisans carved this perfect, deep acceptance directly into the heavy rock, ensuring that the monument would forever radiate a deeply comforting, wonderfully calm aura of total serenity. Looking softly into these beautiful, ancient, and quietly smiling faces brings a wonderful, overwhelming sense of absolute safety to the tired mind. You can perfectly allow your own face to wonderfully relax, gently mirroring their beautiful, entirely smooth, and deeply perfect expression of absolute contentment. There is nothing left to worry about. You are completely understood, entirely accepted, and beautifully held within this deep, quiet, ancient smile of profound, unending peace. As you gaze softly into the deeply shadowed, wonderfully quiet spaces between the heavy, perfectly smooth stone stupas, you can feel your own deeply tired eyelids matching the immense, comforting weight of the ancient rock. The incredibly heavy, beautifully dark volcanic stone gently encourages a profound, beautiful, and entirely complete physical surrender. It quietly asks you to stop resisting, gently inviting you to let your heavy muscles completely sink into the deep, wonderfully soft surface beneath you. The ancient monument perfectly understands the absolute necessity of incredibly deep, beautifully uninterrupted rest. It holds absolutely no expectations, makes no demands, and requires entirely no active attention from you. You are wonderfully, completely free to just exist in this perfectly soft, beautifully dark space, allowing your heavy body to seamlessly merge with the deep, absolutely perfect stillness of the ancient, completely resting night. Let the heavy stone anchor you safely as you drift slowly and effortlessly into a deep, dreamless slumber. The incredibly gentle, beautifully slow journey upwards smoothly and perfectly ends directly at the absolute silent central point of the deeply resting stone mandala. You have wonderfully and completely reached the absolute summit of the deeply quiet night, leaving entirely nothing else to discover and absolutely nowhere else to go. The beautifully solid, incredibly heavy central dome perfectly anchors the entire vast, deeply sleeping sanctuary, offering an overwhelming, profound sense of absolute, deep, and wonderfully total completion. It is beautifully, entirely finished. Your incredibly long, complex day is perfectly over, and your deeply tired, wandering mind can finally, entirely, completely stop searching. The ancient, incredibly smooth and heavily resting stone perfectly supports your deeply exhausted body. Simply lay down all your remaining heavy thoughts right here, completely surrendering to the vast, incredibly perfect, and beautifully absolute deep, wonderfully quiet, and entirely peaceful dark night. There is only rest waiting for you here at the beautifully quiet summit of the world, floating gracefully above the incredibly thick, perfectly soft blanket of glowing silver mist. The ancient, completely silent monument appears wonderfully disconnected from the deeply shadowed, sleeping earth below. It is a beautifully massive ship of quietly resting stone, entirely peacefully sailing through a vast, incredibly empty, and perfectly still ocean of sparkling ancient stars. Resting quietly upon this deeply vast, incredibly safe, and perfectly heavy floating island, you are entirely insulated from any distant, lingering echoes of the busy waking world. The beautifully silent, incredibly deep space immediately surrounding you is filled with nothing but pure, absolute, and wonderfully complete tranquility. This perfectly vast, deeply empty isolation is profoundly comforting for a heavily tired mind. You are beautifully, perfectly tucked away, completely hidden within the incredibly thick, soft clouds, floating in a state of perfectly deep, entirely absolute, and wonderfully uninterrupted, deep peace. Allow yourself to gently drift on this floating island, safe and secure in the quiet night. Every single smooth, beautifully rounded contour of the massive, perfectly resting stone stupas gently mirrors the deeply comforting, wonderfully vast dome of the incredibly dark, perfectly quiet tropical night sky. This profound, ancient architectural symmetry beautifully and gently coaxed the tired, wandering mind to wonderfully expand, softly dissolving all rigid boundaries and completely washing away any heavy, stressful thoughts. The perfectly vast, beautifully empty space held safely inside these heavy, incredibly smooth ancient stone bells is precisely the exact same deep, perfectly complete emptiness you are seeking within your own deeply resting mind tonight. Imagining this deeply perfect, wonderfully hollow space instantly creates a beautifully profound, completely overwhelming feeling of absolute, deep, and perfectly uninterrupted spaciousness. You are entirely free from absolutely any mental clutter, perfectly allowing your incredibly deeply relaxed thoughts to wonderfully, softly expand into the vast, perfectly empty, entirely beautiful, incredibly silent and completely peaceful dark night, resting quietly under the comforting dome of ancient silver stars. In the deeply beautiful, incredibly quiet hours just before the unseen, sleeping tropical dawn, the ancient monument achieves its most profound, absolute state of perfect stillness. The gentle night wind completely ceases, the soft, rhythmic chirping of the hidden jungle crickets quietly fades away, and the entire vast resting world seems to hold its wonderfully peaceful breath. This incredibly beautiful, completely absolute silence is profoundly thick, wrapping around the beautifully smooth, deeply heavy volcanic stone like a perfectly soft, incredibly warm velvet blanket. Being entirely enveloped within this incredibly deep, total silence is exactly what your deeply tired body so wonderfully craves. There is absolutely no external noise to gently pull you back to the busy waking surface. You are perfectly, completely submerged in an incredibly deep, beautifully quiet, and wonderfully peaceful ocean of absolute perfect rest. This complete absence of sound is a beautiful natural medicine for the exhausted mind, deeply healing every tired thought with profound, perfect quiet. The beautifully complex, incredibly ancient, and deeply carved geometric patterns of the grand sanctuary act as a wonderfully perfect, gently hypnotic visual labyrinth for the resting mind. Tracing these flawless, incredibly smooth, and beautifully repeating stone lines in the quiet dark gently untangles the heavy, confused, and chaotic thoughts of the incredibly long, busy day. As your deeply resting mind softly follows these beautifully smooth, perfectly endless ancient pathways, it naturally finds a profound, absolute sense of entirely beautiful, perfect order. There are absolutely no sudden dead ends, and entirely no stressful, unexpected turns anywhere in this beautifully vast, incredibly ancient stone mandala. Everything is wonderfully entirely resolved, perfectly completely balanced, and beautifully absolutely settled. Let your deeply tired thoughts completely entirely surrender to this perfectly beautiful, incredibly reliable, and entirely gentle ancient symmetry. Following these beautifully ordered patterns slowly guides your brainwaves into the exact same smooth, rhythmic, and perfectly calm state, preparing you entirely for a deep sleep. When the incredibly deep, absolute, and perfectly beautiful darkness completely covers the vast, sweeping stone terraces, the entire massive, ancient monument seems to gently disappear entirely into the quiet, tropical night. The incredibly heavy, beautifully carved volcanic rock perfectly dissolves into the incredibly soft, deeply comfortable, and wonderfully blank canvas of the resting, deeply silent universe. This beautifully complete, incredibly gentle, perfectly natural fading is deeply, profoundly comforting for the extremely exhausted, heavily overworked visual mind. There is absolutely entirely nothing left to critically analyze, completely entirely nothing left to actively understand, and entirely perfectly nothing left to wonderfully process. Your incredibly deeply tired eyes are beautifully free to gently shut perfectly tight. Just wonderfully, perfectly, entirely let the beautifully completely deep, wonderfully comfortable darkness perfectly swallow the heavy passing day. The world has beautifully vanished into the quiet dark, leaving you entirely safe, deeply held, and perfectly ready to slowly sink into the vast, welcoming, and entirely formless night. The deep, wonderful volcanic stone of this magnificent sanctuary holds the perfectly undisturbed memory of 1,000 incredibly quiet, beautifully restful nights. It has patiently sat perfectly still beneath the softly glowing silver stars, slowly absorbing centuries of absolute, unbroken peace. When you imagine resting your tired body against this heavy ancient rock, you instantly absorb this exact same deeply comforting calmness. The beautifully thick, quiet energy of the monument effortlessly enters your own muscles, gently replacing any nervous tension with a profound, beautifully heavy sense of deeply perfect, wonderful stillness. It is an ancient, incredibly reliable tranquility that has perfectly survived the rising and falling of empires, completely untouched by the stressful, fast-paced demands of the fleeting world. You are deeply connected to this massive, unshakable peace, wonderfully anchored to the quiet, perfectly stable earth, beautifully, entirely safe, and perfectly deeply ready for a complete, entirely restorative, and incredibly wonderful night of deep, uninterrupted, and profoundly beautiful slumber. As the beautiful, incredibly quiet, tropical night gently deepens, the vast, entirely silent stone mandala effortlessly guides your wandering mind directly into the absolute center of perfect rest. Just like the incredibly smooth, sweeping stone paths that gracefully wind upward toward the heavy, silent bells, your beautifully relaxed thoughts are slowly, perfectly drawn toward a single, entirely unbroken point of profound, beautifully deep concentration. You have entirely left behind the confusing, deeply chaotic edges of your long day, beautifully navigating the perfectly smooth, incredibly ancient labyrinth to finally arrive at the exact, perfect center of your own beautiful, entirely quiet inner peace. There is absolutely no more incredibly tiring, completely exhausting mental walking required. You are perfectly safely stationed at the beautiful, exact summit of the deeply dark night. Everything is wonderfully gathered here in this singular, perfectly calm space, leaving you entirely free to just beautifully rest, completely untroubled by the vast, perfectly sleeping world stretching endlessly around you. Here, at the absolute, perfectly quiet, entirely silent pinnacle of the beautifully ancient, heavily resting monument, you are completely, wonderfully free to finally let go of absolutely everything. The vast, incredibly deep, beautifully sparkling tropical sky stretches perfectly endlessly above you, and the heavy, wonderfully quiet, entirely ancient volcanic stone rests completely, perfectly still far beneath you. You are beautifully caught in a perfectly safe, incredibly deep, entirely wonderfully comforting suspension between the heavy earth and the deeply beautiful stars. All your incredibly tangled, deeply confusing, entirely exhausting thoughts have perfectly softly dissolved into the incredibly thick, wonderfully soft, entirely beautiful glowing mist. There is entirely nothing left for you to actively do, absolutely perfectly nothing left to completely fix, and wonderfully entirely nothing left to beautifully solve. Just perfectly breathe, entirely beautifully sink deeply down, and perfectly sleep. You are perfectly held, incredibly safe and wonderfully entirely at peace in the absolute deep and perfectly unbroken, completely beautiful dark. As we slowly conclude our tranquil journey across these ancient, sleeping terraces, let the profound quiet of Borobudur linger deeply within your resting mind. This grand monument was never simply built to stand against the turning of time. It was lovingly crafted to offer a permanent, physical sanctuary for the wandering spirit, a vast stone map guiding us back to our own inner stillness. For over a millennium, it has perfectly held the soft memories of whispered devotions, the heavy, cooling touch of endless midnight rains, and the gentle, sweeping light of a billion ancient stars. It has survived the long, silent centuries by perfectly yielding to nature, allowing the soft jungle moss to dress its walls and the heavy volcanic ash to act as a protective, deeply warming blanket. There is a beautiful, enduring lesson resting in this dark volcanic stone. True peace is not found in rigid resistance, but in a soft, graceful surrender to the natural flow of the universe. Just as this magnificent mandala perfectly aligned itself with the slow, steady rhythm of the cosmos, you too can completely align your heavy breathing with the calm, unbroken pulse of the sleeping world. The ancient architects understood that after the long, intricate journey through the complicated lower galleries of our daily lives, we all eventually seek the perfectly smooth, beautifully empty upper terraces of deep, uncomplicated rest. You have successfully made that quiet climb tonight. The tangled stories and intricate carvings of the waking day are now completely safely tucked away in the shadows far below. You are resting at the beautifully clear, perfectly silent summit, surrounded only by the deep, comforting void of the gentle night. The quiet sentinels of stone will continue to keep their perfectly peaceful watch over the mist-covered valley, allowing you to completely release any lingering need to stay awake. Everything is beautifully settled, perfectly complete, and wonderfully secure. Now, as the deep blue blanket of the night folds completely over the ancient sanctuary, it is time for your own world to gently fade away. The thick, glowing mist has fully embraced the heavy stone bells, wrapping the entire mountain in a soft, protective cocoon of absolute silence. The fireflies have settled into the deep emerald moss, and the vast jungle below has fallen into a rhythm of incredibly slow, deep, and perfect slumber. There is a profound, heavy comfort in knowing that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Your body is wonderfully heavy, sinking deeper and deeper into the incredible softness of your bed, perfectly supported by the quiet, unshakable strength of the earth below. As you take your next slow, deep breath, allow the cool, fragrant air of the tropical night to softly sweep away any remaining echoes of the day. The beautiful, infinite sky stretches over you, a vast dome of sparkling silver stars watching over your perfect rest. You are entirely safe, deeply loved, and wonderfully completely protected by the ancient, silent guardians of the dark. The journey is beautifully complete. The intricate pathways of the mind have been softly unraveled, smoothed out by the gentle hands of time and the patient, unending quiet of the heavy volcanic stone. Let the soft, resonant hum of the deeply sleeping world carry you away on a slow, continuous river of dreams. Surrender entirely to the heavy, welcoming darkness. Let the gentle night hold you close, keeping you perfectly warm and wonderfully undisturbed until the soft, distant light of tomorrow morning. It is time to let go completely. Allow the profound, ancient peace of this sacred place to wash over you, pulling you softly into the deepest, most restorative rest. Your heavy eyelids finally close, shutting out the waking world, leaving only a vast, beautiful, empty canvas for your sweetest dreams to softly paint themselves across the quiet night. Breathe out one final time, releasing the very last tiny fragment of your day. Good night and sleep deeply.